Hello, you're listening to WRKE 100.3 LPFM, Salem, streaming live online at WRKE.org, and on the TuneIn app, just search for WRKE. WRKE is on the air and streaming live because of listeners like you who appreciate the alternative choices that we provide. Hello, I am Anakin Heidrich, a part of the Heidrich Motivational Hour, and this is...
Hi, I'm Jessie McKeon. I am a local.
Nice. So what is your profession exactly?
Well, I do lots of things. I am the director of religious education at the Unitarian Universalist Church. And if you're not familiar with Unitarian Universalism, we are down on the corner of Grandin and Brandon, so you're always welcome to stop by. I'm also a media professional, so I produce podcasts. I also do a lot of theater, both professional and community theater, and I also read to kids. So I have... there's the Renaissance term, so I would consider myself a Renaissance person. I am a little bit of everything and a lot of other things.
All right, and wait a second. So if you want to follow me on my social media accounts. I am through Instagram and YouTube as the coolest pet in town, and on my Instagram and on my Facebook, I go by my first and last name, Anakin Heidrich, ANAKYNHEIDRACH. Again, that's ANAKYNHEIDRACH. And what do you go by?
So it's the easiest way to find me is my website. It's JessieMcKeon.com. So it's JessieMcKeon.com. If you're looking for me on social media, I am everywhere as either Shoeless Jess, that's my personal one, and Raggedy Auntie is the persona that I have, that I travel around, read to kids, and promote children's literacy, specifically early years literacy. That's also the name under which I have published my first children's book, which is called The Hike I Took, and it's an early reader about hiking up to the Roanoke Star. So Raggedy Auntie or JessieMcKeon.com, and pretty easy to find.
Sweet. So what I want to do is ask you, could you tell me the story of how you came into theater?
Absolutely. So as a kid, I was very, let's just say production focused. I was a production heavy kid. So there's a very famous story in my family about the first opera I ever wrote when I think I was 3 years old. And of course, I don't remember this, but my family tells me that, the primary piece was about the sun, and it was, is it yellow? Is it yellow? Yes, it's yellow. So I've always been a very dramatic storyteller. And in middle school, I was a typical middle schooler. Everything is dramatic. Everything is, that's when we're developing certain parts of our brain, and we're learning who we are as a human. So it was a wild time for me in middle school. And my mom said, when you get to high school, you're doing theater. And of course I said no, because my mom's the one that said it. But that's kind of all it took. And she made sure I was enrolled in a Theater 1 class, and I loved it. My first show was Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, and I was one of the narrators. Actually, no, I wasn't. I helped the narrators. It was like an all-district musical. So God bless those teachers, because there were about 100 kids in this show. So there were 3 narrators, and there were people that also sang with the narrators. So I was one of those sing-withers. And it was really like I got a little starstruck. So I invested a lot of my time in theater, learned everything I could. Then I went to the University of South Carolina first for opera, because I thought I wanted to do opera. Then I realized I was best at opera when I was making fun of my friends who sang opera. So I'm a really good mimic, but I was not having the time of my life doing opera. So I spoke with my advisor, and he suggested I switch to theater. It's still a form of performance, and I thought I wanted to do something different. But I went back to theater, ended up transferring to the University of New Orleans, and was there until Katrina. And then I finished at the University of South Carolina. So after getting washed up to my grandma's house, and, you know, my mom, my aunt, all of us were impacted by Hurricane Katrina. So I ended up back at the University of South Carolina, graduated with a degree in theater, and became a camp director for 15 years. And if you think that you don't use a theater degree, become a camp director, and you will use every single bit of that, from campfire skits to fixing a cabin. You know, everything that you learn in theater is a transferable skill, which is pretty cool. So, like, I can help build a house, I can help paint that house, and then I can go on the news and help sell that house. So it really is, theater is my lifeblood. And I'm currently about to start directing, once The Shark is Broken closes, at Showtimers Community Theater, which, if you haven't seen it, you should go. It was opening night last night, but I'm going tonight. I'm so excited. But then the next show will be directed by me. It's called The Tin Woman. So this season at Showtimers really is the peak theater. So it's, you know, it's always part of my job, working with kids and working in education. But yeah, that's my theater story.
That sounds so nice. There's a few things I've learned in theater. If I haven't forgotten anything, it was always the key idea was just simply the idea of collaboration. Mm-hmm. That's kind of what we're trying to get into our heads here in our film classes that I'm taking right now, is, again, the idea of collaboration in a project, because there's hardly going to be any time where you're ever going to be working solo. Mm-hmm. For a moment. And if there's one thing I was told, if I forgot everything else I ever learned across those 3 years of theater and those 6 shows that I've been in myself, is that I was always told there's always going to be a boring aspect to everything you do. So you might as well want it bad enough to go and do it.
Yeah. And for actors, you know, there's nothing more boring than when the light designer needs you to stand on stage and they need to make sure the light's shining on you. But that is one of the most intense parts for the lighting designers and lighting technicians. So you're right. There's always something boring about what you do. And then there's always something super exciting. And the cool thing about collaboration is you may be excited about something that I think is boring. But if we're all invested in that project, like a show, like a film, anything like that, it's going to be, I can be bored while you're thriving, because ultimately it's going to make the final product absolutely marvelous.
If you can't sit there and struggle through it, or go through the boredom for someone else's sake, because again, every part of the show is important. Any part of anything is important, no matter how small it is. It's all what keeps everything together. Like, for example, a film would be useless if the sound guy wasn't there. If you just fired the sound guy, either you'd have really, really, really rough sound, nobody will watch it, or you'll just hear nothing, and that'll draw your audience away quicker than anything else. Bad visuals is one thing. People might be a little more patient with that, but if you just kicked out the sound guy, they're immediately out. Unless we're watching something like A Quiet Place.
Yeah, exactly. But there's also, like, it's also remembering that you don't have to be the expert if you have the expert. So that's something that, especially, you know, in our early 20s, during our university career, during our time as a professional student, we forget that we're the expert. So one thing that, like, I want every Roanoke College, every college student to know is that you are the expert. I cannot tell you how many times I have not known how to make a biscuit, or I have not known how to do something. And somebody who's much younger than me, much more experienced than me, can come in and be that expert, and not just do it in an expert way, but they can even show me how easy it is. And then I don't need to panic about the biscuit. It's not that hard. And, you know, I think about all the things that I have learned from people younger than me, and people who are the experts. So if there's anything, not just that there's going to be something boring, but there are so many people who are experts in their own right about things that they don't know that they're even an expert about. There is an expert in making up the bed. And you know what? They would be appalled by how I made up my bed this morning. Or did it make up my bed? Let's be honest here.
And well, I don't know. It's like when I said, there's always some part in your life where you feel like you need to have an area of confidence where someone talks to you, you say you sleep and you breathe and you do that. For example, for me, for a while, when I seemed like I had nothing else going for me, at least I kept getting consistent A's in high school. Or, for example, when I wasn't in high school and I was in the summer, and it seemed like everything else was just going right off the tracks, and all my other aspects of my life, I still had I still did amazing at my job every day, and I still had a boss who told me every day, sending me messages like, "You do not know how much I really appreciate you," and saying like, "I'm really glad you came in today because I had all these meetings I had to get in, and you managed to handle this weekend rush smoothly." It's just to have that, get the comments like that, because it's not often that I get those types of compliments as it is. So believe me when I say I do remember them very well, like a core memory. Anyways, like I said before, we need to have some area in our lives where we have confidence, because if we don't, then what do we have? Exactly.
And for anyone who's listening, if you don't know that area, just ask someone. We tend to, as a society, we tend to focus on the negatives. We have the complaint department. We don't have the compliment department.
I like that.
And that's something that, like, if someone, I have always done this. My mom did this. My grandmother did this. My grandfather still does it. If someone does an excellent job with something, we make sure that they know, and we make sure that their supervisor knows. And it's the same thing in theater. You don't want to go do a show or run sound for a show, or even, be the bed pusher outer guy. You don't want to be that person that only gets told that they're doing something wrong. And you do more right than wrong. And it's, we forget that we're doing these things right. You know what I didn't do yesterday? I didn't fall down. I walked just right yesterday, so I didn't fall down. But there are people who do fall down and that need support. So I have to remember everything that I do well. It far outweighs any mistake that I'm going to make.
Exactly, and honestly, I think part of the problem is, we live in the world we live in is born negative. It's like we almost have chosen, and notice what I said, chosen to allow ourselves to become the same way, and allow ourselves to become negative with the rest of the world. It's like putting a strawberry with a pile of molded fruit. That strawberry is the mold's eventually going to spread to the strawberry, and it's going to grow. You become who you surround yourself with, so you kind of got to choose. I was told one day that in business, your network determines your net worth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and that's very true. And that's, I have other degrees. My master's degree is in education, and I focused in the gamification of learning. So, one thing that I learned early is that I don't learn well when I'm sitting down and reading. Don't get me wrong, I love to read. I just talked about reading to kids, but I'm not a read the book, highlight. I have to turn things into a game. So my focus in my master's degree, which is in instructional design, and my focus was gamification of learning. And one thing, our network does determine our net worth. However, we can use our network to our advantage. Everything can be a game. And I think that we also, I'm just like a don't take it so seriously kind of person. That person that doesn't walk as well as I do, can I turn that into a game where I can help them? That person who maybe doesn't speak the same language as I do, can I turn this into a game where we find out how we communicate? And I say game very broadly. Not everything is competitive. Even though go Maroons. But it's not always competitive. Sometimes it's a constructive game. Sometimes it's a community game. Sometimes it's just finding the fun in something. I am very Mary Poppins, not just because I have my bag of tricks, but because the things that are boring, the things that, are maybe not our expertise, something that we're learning, a place where we want to grow more, can be gamified, and it can become a fun thing, and we can give ourselves these exciting goals that match our achievement goals. So then I want my network to mirror that. I want my network to, maybe not as many boardrooms, maybe not as many, and we have this picture in our head of these executives in their suits and all that stuff. But I want my network to be as diverse as the books I read, as the people I meet, and I want to have fun. There's so many things that are not fun, and it's fun for me to be bored and see your expertise. And that's also along the lines of education. Boredom creates, inventions come from boredom and need. And the boredom inventions are incredible. So we need to let kids be bored. We need to let adults be bored. And then that's where we get our games. That's where we get our fun.
That's how I came up with this.
See? It's just sitting around bored. And you know what? I'm going to do this. This is the story I want to tell. And that, that actor, back to the theater, that actor that's bored on set, moving around to make sure that the lights are focused on that area of the set. And there's always, it's terrible, but we call them roaches because they're scurrying around the set. And usually it's the actors, but they're thinking about their character, and that life that the theater gives them with someone's expertise then gives that character so much life. We put on our costumes and test them under the lights, and suddenly the world of the play comes together. And isn't that a great example of how our lives can be? We can put on, everything can come together when we have this contribution, when we have this network, when we have these people who are also focused on the fun of the game. And we've got this big project that we're working on, and it comes together. We're building a house. I use building a house as an example all the time because there's so many parts that go in. You need an electrician, you need a plumber, you need a carpenter. All these people have to have certifications. They've all gone to trade school. They've gone to college. You've got the architect who's got, several degrees. And then you've got the guys who are putting the roof on. And I'll tell you, if you don't want me on a roof, you don't want me up there about to fall on my head trying to do the thing. But all these experts come together to build this thing that's vital for all of us. It's a home for all of us. And we need that, and we have the right to that, but we need these experts to make it happen. And gosh, isn't that fun to see a roof get put on in a day? It's incredible. It's so much math. And I have a sticker that says they knew I'd be too powerful if I could do math. So that's not my area of expertise. But this is I think that's where my passion for education, for theater, for people really comes through.
Right, and that's the thing. I can think about numbers all day long, but if we're going to trigonometry, you're going to have to leave me out of that because I'm gonna lose my mind trying to work out the trigonometry. But no, kind of like what I was saying earlier. So we live in such a negative world that it's like if somebody sees you smile and they look at you like you're weird or you've gone crazy or something. Every day I'm over here laughing over watching my YouTube videos and watching my comedy, and everybody just walks by me and it's like, is he all right over there? Or people on the bus be like, I'm sitting here wheezing and laughing, and they're asking me, are you about to die or something?
Yeah, people don't expect. We've grown to expect negativity, but positivity is out there, and it is locatable, and there are people.
Idea of hope.
Yeah. There is so much opportunity for hope because of the negativity in the world. And wouldn't it be fun? That's what I always think is, wouldn't it be fun if we don't have to be the same. We shouldn't be the same person to collaborate. We don't have to be.
Why would we collaborate?
Right, exactly. There's no sense in everybody. If everybody in theater was a director, I would not walk into that theater. First of all, they'd never get a show done because we're all changing everything all the time. There comes a point in the theater when my stage manager has to say, stop changing things. I'm like, okay, cool, yeah, we've got a show. And that's why directors hand it over to the stage manager to run the show, because the stage manager is the expert in what they do. And let me tell you, managing a stage is not easy.
Oh, I believe it. I've seen it done. It's stressful. It's hectic. I've almost gotten yelled at once a long time ago. I was in 6 shows across my time in high school. I've been trying to get into some shows since, but so far I haven't been given parts since high school. I was behind the scenes for one, and after that I said to myself, I'm going to stay on the stage from this point on again.
Yeah.
I just wanted to try it for myself. I just wanted to try something new because I said I didn't know what I might like. But no. And like even I had the opportunity, and that was the other thing. We were doing a show. It was my 5th show, my 5th part. And overall in theater, both behind the scenes and on stage. This was my only behind the scenes part. And I was given an opportunity, and sometimes still to this day I still kick myself for it, because this was something I've always wanted to do with my life. And that, like you said, that was directing, whether it be a show, whether it be a show in theater, or it be a film I've wanted to direct. As a matter of fact, I have 5 3-hour epic films I'm in the middle of setting up and putting together, because that's what I want to do, is direct all these epics. But anyways, I was given this opportunity in this show called The Alibis, which was just a series of stories all meant to be cohesive and show one big crime that was going on. It was just different perspectives.
Yeah.
I don't remember much about the show itself because I wasn't there for the script, of course, but that's the general idea back at Patrick Henry High School over on the Grandin. Anyways, I was given the opportunity to direct something, and I literally said, why would anyone want to see me direct? I don't know the first thing. And I regretted it ever since. Why didn't I not take the opportunity? And it felt like such a prime example of you only miss the shots that you don't take.
Yeah, absolutely. I do want to stress, though, that it is never too late to pick that up. To the horn here, we have established an emerging artist showcase at Showtimers Community Theater, where The Shark is Broken is playing right now, and where I will be directing Tin Women. It's the emerging artist showcase is designed around giving that opportunity to the community. We have people of all ages. We have a high schooler and someone who has been retired for a hot minute. We have brand new stage managers, and they of course have mentors. I'm the producer this year. I have lost my mind producing a show while I'm also working on casting a show, but we do the thing. But the whole point of that is to give that directing opportunity, stage managing opportunity, and an opportunity to local playwrights to get their 10-minute play produced. So yeah, it's super cool. So I last year had 2 plays that went up with brand new directors, mostly actors that were new to the theater, or people that, maybe don't have time to do a 2-hour show rehearsing every day a week, but they have time to rehearse once a week to do a 10-minute play. It's a huge opportunity, and we have so many people that have said exactly what you said, that either they missed the opportunity or they didn't know the opportunity even existed to direct a show, to stage manage. People forget that stage managers exist when they're doing their job well. Same with sound designers, same with prop designers. When they do their job well, you don't know that they did anything. But these brand new stage managers are thriving. These directors are putting on everything from highly dramatic shows to very hilarious shows. And it's a night of 5 plays, but they've got brand new directors, or at least new to Showtimers, brand new stage managers, and quite a few brand new actors. And it seriously is an emerging artist showcase. And it's those people that maybe were provided an opportunity and they didn't take it, or they didn't know the opportunity existed. So I'm going to challenge you to join our director showcase. Come to the new director workshop and then join into the showcase next year. It's annual. So this is a challenge, Anakin. This is a challenge for you.
I love that.
To at least come to the director's workshop, see what it's all about, and try your hand at it. The worst that could happen is 10 minutes of chaos. And anyone
At least they have a good laugh.
Right, exactly. Anyone can handle 10 minutes of chaos.
Okay.
But it's really walking through all those different steps to get you to where, some of our current director, Corey Stewart, who is directing, he has directed. I keep forgetting that they opened last night because last night was chaos in my life. So he directed Shark is Broken. He was a film actor. He toured with bands. And all of this led him to this spectacular point of view to create this slice of life kind of show. And you also find out what kind of show you do. I am great with the weird things. I directed Monster Songs last year, which was, and I would love to hear your perspective of it because we had this deep story, but really it was just these monsters that came into a kid's bedroom, came out of her book and told their stories and how they were mistaken. The Witch is one of my favorites and Medusa, and they talk about how they've been villainized by just being themselves.
I love that. It's actually kind of brilliant because I always see it going on all the time. All these people who face all the controversy in the world, it's I see all the celebrities, and I see there's examples of so many of these famous people get mud thrown at their name, and then once you start seeing who's really throwing the puppet strings, you start to understand that maybe they were being villainized, and understand maybe we owe them a great deal of respect.
Yeah, absolutely. The villainy, we can villainize anyone in our lives. It could be our first grade teacher. It could be, some famous celebrity. It could be anyone. We can villainize anyone in our lives, but having the opportunity to see from their perspective is really important, which was the story that we were trying to tell. And at the end of the show of Monster Songs, we hear about, the troll that lives under the bridge, but then we find out that this troll was a national parks tour guide. So this kid who associates this troll with this national parks tour guide maybe had an adverse experience, but how cool was it that her parents took her to the national park and she got to go on this hike with this tour guide who maybe was weird because, when our passions don't match our audience, sometimes our audience thinks we're super weird. But that's fine. We can be weird. We can be weirdos. Weirdos are always welcome.
I guess it's kind of human to want to have a villain and a hero in our lives. I don't know, it gives us some... That's what I was told, at least. One day I was told, you want to make me out to be a villain so bad so that you can have something in your life to overcome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that goes back to that boredom piece. What we do with our boredom, whether it's constructive or destructive, is really important. So when we have those boredom moments and, we're bored because the roofers are putting the roof in and we can't do anything, we want to paint the hall, but we can't do that until there's a roof on the building. And we might be bored. It's not the roofer's fault. It's not even the fault of the architect. It's not the fault of the system. That's just how it goes. And we can take that and we can create those villains, or we can essentially just create. So that's the perspective that I always try to take is, and just like anyone, I can make anything someone else's fault. And I can feel attacked. You'll
just give them power.
Right, exactly. I'm giving them power that they didn't know that they had, and they probably don't want. Because, we're all trying to do a thing, and it's a traffic jam. Life is messy. Life is sometimes a traffic jam. Sometimes it is pure chaos of an evening. But you know what else I did last night? I put every single book in my office on a shelf, which has not happened in 3 years. So all the books that I bring down for reference, to write curriculum, to do all that stuff, they were all just piled. My minister from a few years ago who passed away was also one of my great spiritual advisors, Rev. Walter LaFleur. And he left a lot of books to me. So I had these grief moments going through the books that he gave me. It wasn't his fault. It wasn't the fault of even myself for not putting. Yeah, life is messy, and you know what? Having him in my network still through those books is important to me. But every single book is on a shelf. I'm very proud of myself. So I created Construction from Chaos. And that's not common. Like, I'm not going to say every chaotic moment leads to construction, because sometimes we just need to live in our chaos and understand it, and then take advantage of the boredom that comes after.
I love that too, and sometimes that's how I am too. Sometimes I'll get those moments where I'm just sitting on my bed, ruminating and just ruminating on all these awful thoughts going on, and then all of a sudden the next moment I sit there and I think to myself, why can't I be productive in my own dorm room? And then what I do is I think of something even better. Since I don't have another roommate, I'm just going to use the entire other half of this room anyways. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the two desks together so that they're facing against the bed, and so I'm not looking at the bed when I study and I'm tempted to get into the bed. And then what I'll do to cover the bed is put all my books, like put my favorite books and put my favorite movies up in front of the bedstand, so I have something to look at aside from the bed, and at least I have my passion right there look at in front of me to remind me. I mean, like, even in my own the second closet that was empty, I wound up organizing that into 4 different quadrants for my favorite actors. I started dividing it up and started like putting all my movies together in different quadrants of each of my favorite actors, and just a collection of their work from the oldest to the latest. And I don't know why, but that just seems to be something that works out for me, and it gives me ideas, since we're going to be renovating my room when I get back home, back from the dorm, of course. And sometimes those quiet moments, sometimes when you just sit there and get still and you just start to think, and the ideas just start coming. And like, I went to a cabin in December for Christmas. It was like our Christmas vacation, pretty much, down in, I believe, somewhere in Tennessee. I can't tell you where, unfortunately, because it was all kept secret from me. But it was like a bear lodge. It wasn't like a Great Wolf Lodge, like a bear lodge. But this was on a hill, and what I like to do every day is I like to go out for walks, even if it's just out in the forest behind the cabin. And so what I did one morning when I got up early, like I've always done, is I would just get my coffee in, and then what I do is I just get my shoes on and I just start walking out there, because I never know what I might find. And I wound up finding this one sign that said "Keep Going" with the arrow pointed. It was a road sign for the dirt roads, because again, being down there with all the leaves and whatnot, you can't really see the roads too well. But this was rotten off. This already fell off the post. It went into the ground, and it was just getting eaten from behind. And I said, you know what, I'm going to take this home and I'm going to hide this in the car, so that nobody says, why is there bugs in the back of the car? So and so what I did, my mom was like, I was wondering, my mom even said, I was wondering what that was. I was like, yeah, Mama, that was me. I wanted that. But no, what I did was I took a different meaning on it. Instead of "keep going" on the road, I wanted to put it in my dorm room, so every time I walked in there, I'd see a sign that said "keep going." That wooden "keep going" sign. I did that, and like I have this light up sign, and you slide the letters into. I have something there that says "live your dreams." Put that in there. I have one of the drawings that I've drew that's inspired me to do film. It was like a drawing of one of the logos to one of the studios I always wanted to work with, and I can look at that every day and think, wait a minute, I've come too far. And wait a minute, every time I look at that, it gives me a sense of urgency. Like,
absolutely.
I still want this that badly, even if I need to take the night to just be. And that's the thing. There's balance. I mean, we've talked about networking. We've talked about boredom. And all of that leads to balance. Part of networking is also not relying solely on your network. You are the expert. You are the expert of what you do. And it takes us as humans way too long to acknowledge that we're an expert. There's so many people right now, right outside this door on this campus, who are experts in what they do. And nothing against the professors,
but they're not always the professors. There's so many experts. And, when I was teaching at a collegiate level, I wanted to know what my students knew, because also I'm this is, again, not anything against people of my own age, but sometimes younger people know a whole lot more about things like the internet and my cell phone than I do. So, I have no shame walking up to, of course, it's got to be somebody I know. I'm not going to go up to a stranger on the street and be like, can you fix my cell phone? But I have no problem going to a teenager that I know and saying, look, my phone updated. I'm going to exercise your expertise, use my network, which I am a vital part of, and say, help me with my cell phone. And yes, I am aging myself. I'm sure that someone is laughing at me. Please do, by all means. Take the comedy moment of, this 44-year-old who does not know how to work their cell phone. And for so many people, 44 is young, but for so many people, 44 is old. And that's a cool thing about being, quote unquote, middle-aged.
Move your back.
Yeah, yes, yeah. I get it. But yeah, I use my network, and it can be something small, it can be something big, it can be, a ride somewhere, or it can be, hey, can you help me fix my toilet? Which is not broken, by the way. It's fine. But we have a network, and that's a vital piece that I learned, even doing theater in undergrad. I learned that it will not happen without a multitude of people, and every single role is important. If you are the bed pusher outer guy and you're not there, the bed doesn't get pushed out, and we can't do that whole scene because we don't have that piece of furniture. So
it's like taking a gear out of the machine. It just stops running.
Exactly. And nothing shows us that more than the theater. Nothing shows us that more than live performance. Because, I remember one time I was in The Robber Bridegroom, and I was playing Salome, which is spelled like Salome, but she's from the Natchez Trace. So Salome, and the guy playing my husband came in, and he was supposed to give me a diamond a tiara to wear, because I thought I was getting fancy because he was getting money. But he came in, and it had fallen into the lining of his coat. And he couldn't get it out because it was, it had combs on it. It was pokey little rhinestones. So it was stuck to the inside of his jacket.
No.
So everybody, there were 4 of us on stage, and we all just kind of, no one panicked, but it was just like, okay. And everybody's racking their brains. What do we do? What do we do? What do we do? Well, one of the chorus members, exactly. It was like pure chaos. One of the chorus members, and the chorus was on stage throughout this whole show. So she just walked up, ripped his coat apart, and handed it to me. And I was like, girl, you are brilliant. And she was like, well, I knew how to fix it. And I was like, cool, awesome. We needed to fix it anyway if the lining was tearing. So she just ripped his coat up and handed me his thing. And it was so funny. It was so out of the blue. And we just kept going with the show. But if we hadn't had her, we had frozen. We were the ones that were worried about singing this song with a live bluegrass band, and the guys in the band can't help us because they're holding instruments. And it was just like, none of us were thinking. She was laser focused on his prop coming out of his pocket and being handed to me. So we needed her. We needed her to fix it as well. So she was that expert in that moment. And that's what I love about theater, is that transference of power, that transference of expertise, because we are all working toward the same goal, and that is pleasing the audience. And what a great time. What a fun day when you get to go see a show that's done incredibly well and cooperatively. You leave that space, even if it's a dramatic show, you leave that space feeling like you've been part of the experience. And that's what I create. I create the numinous. And that's always been my goal.
And honestly, how do you even get the expertise without doing it for somebody? When you're doing it for someone beyond yourself, you actually have a reason and a less reason to give up on it. So if you're asking someone for their expertise, chances are they're going to be happier about it than because then they're going to be like, how else am I going to exercise this, or how else am I going to remember these skills? It's like someone tying your feet up. Eventually your feet are going to hurt, and you're not going to be able to walk for a little bit. And it's like the same with your brain. If you're not exercising your brain's going to go numb too.
Yeah, everything requires exercise. That is what creation does. That's what boredom does. That's what gamification does. Anakin, I love what you were saying about recreating your environment in a way that is not just visually pleasing, but is like tantalizing for your brain. And I would encourage everyone to do that. Create your environment the way you want your environment to look. Create your if you study best reading out loud, find a space to read out loud. If you study best, kicking a ball around while someone else is reading to you, find that expert to read to you, and you can learn better that way. That is the whole point of my master's degree in instructional design. And I was in a cohort of a bunch of people. I mean, it was a small cohort, it was about 7 people, but everybody else in my cohort wanted to be like high school principal. And I'm sitting there like, okay, but let's throw this thing around the room and recite poems. So I was like the major oddball, but every single one of them has used me as their expert with a specific challenge that they have with a student. So it's very validating too when you are that expert and your network reaches out to you. So your network does determine your net worth, but it also contributes a lot to the shared value of each person and self-investment.
I mean, you feel a sense of worth, but let me see. I've just lost my train of thought. I'm sorry.
Oh, no worries.
That's how I kind of was in theater. I'll never forget something my best friend Kevin once told me during one of these shows. He said, somewhere out of the blue, no matter what, you will always seem to figure out some solution, no matter how obscure it is, and you'll still manage to make it work. That seems to have been one of your talents. He told me that was one of my talents, was I just be able to figure out a solution to some problem we were having on the spot. For example, in our show, when I was behind the scenes, I just was walking by minding my own business, and then I overhear someone talking about they're upset they weren't going to be able to play the part because they didn't have the brown paper bags to go over their head. And so I was like, wait a minute, y'all, I have a paper bag at home, let me run home. And I run home, run back, and everybody's really happy about it. And he's like, that's what I love. My friend was like, that's what I love about you, is that you're willing to even do so much as to go back home and grab this thing because someone really, really wants this bad enough. Because you think, why would you deny them that?
Yeah.
Especially if this is something that they really wanted. I think this was that actress's first show. And I was like, why would I deny someone help that I could just give easily? It's not taking time away from me. I wasn't doing anything in the moment for like the next hour. I might as well tell them I'm running back, and I'm running back to theater, and everybody's actually happier because of it.
Yeah, that is the soul of collaboration, is why not?
There's a sense of morale.
Yeah, and switching our whys to why nots is really, really important for morale, for connectivity, for collaboration. In theater, we do improvisation exercises, and we're supposed to say yes and instead of no but. And a lot of people forget the no but part. If we're saying no, we're fully stopping things. If we're saying no, but we're changing what that person gave us. So not only am I negating what you gave me, I'm saying it's not worth having here. So the yes and is the important part. You tell me, here's a plate of cupcakes. I say yes, and I'm going to put icing on them instead of here's a plate of cupcakes. No, but I have a steak. I've just completely ruined the scene for you. So let's keep going.
Yes, but I'm going to throw these cupcakes, or I'm going to...
Right, yes, but I'm going to ruin you. Yeah, there's no point. Ultimately, theater taught me everything I know. There's that book or poem or something that's everything I need to know I learned in kindergarten, and it's about sharing. It's essentially about collaboration. But everything I need to know I did learn in theater. it gave me such an opportunity to create in my master's program. I created a tabletop role-playing game system as a way of teaching social skills. But now we use it for like various role-playing games. But that was the whole point, was getting exciting. And gosh, that was so much more fun than a PowerPoint about social skills. Let's be real here. Nobody wants a PowerPoint about social skills.
If I see one more PowerPoint.
Look, PowerPoints are useful. I use them all the time in the classroom to make the point, and to also if it's like, y'all need to just take notes on this, I will just give them the PowerPoint. But we also get up and move around and read Shakespeare and tell stories and sing songs and create. Creation is important. Obviously, it's a vital part of what I do. And, my day-to-day at the church is also very theatrical because I am the religious educator. So how do we, in voluntary learning, how do we get people to invest in that? Well, we watch movies, we sing songs, we read plays, we move around, we laugh, gosh, that sounds like so cheesy. We laugh, we cry, but we are messy humans together, and that's what creates collaboration. That's what creates the numinous, which is a shared experience of awe. And that's what I'm in the business of, whether it's in the seats of the theater, whether it's in, religious education, whether it is on the street or on the bus with a bunch of strangers. We create together. And isn't that cool? That's just so cool.
And sometimes that's also what you have to do too, is you just have to create whatever environment works for you, even if it seems something as dumb as putting your desk in front facing the opposite end of your bed, just so you don't get tempted to go to bed. If you have to do it, you have to do it. Do what works for you.
Yeah.
And also, I want to ask, what were the movies in particular that you all watched, or are there any that you considered your favorites?
Oh gosh, I have lots of favorite movies. If I'm just wanting to laugh, I go back to Hot Rod. And if you haven't seen it, you have to watch it. It is so dumb funny.
I love those.
Oh my gosh, it's hilarious. Bill Hader, Andy Samberg, the guys from Lonely Island who, I'm going to really age myself. They produced that with help from, the SNL network. There's your network.
Nice.
But way back in the day, before YouTube was a thing, we had what was called Channel 101. And it was a lot of college film classes, a lot of people that just created. Jack Black was in several episodes of this show called Computer Man, where it was a guy spilled soda or an energy drink or something on his computer. Of course, it was a desktop computer. And he turned into Computer Man. And it was basically Jack Black wearing one of those old, tube desktop computers that they hollowed out on his head and a keyboard around his neck. But the guys from Lonely Island did this spoof on the OC TV show called The Boo, as in Malibu. And Sarah Chalk was in it. There's so many big names that were on Channel 101. And that's where I started following them because I thought they were hilarious. And then they made Hot Rod, and I was probably the only person that was I've got to go see this. It was never in the theaters. It was just straight to DVD. I immediately bought the DVD. I've gone through several copies of it. It is super favorite. But
I've never done that myself.
Oh my gosh, it is so just stupid and so funny. So anyone out there that has not seen it, your job is to watch it. And if you don't find it hilarious, I'm judging you. But
I'll probably be one of those.
Oh, it is so funny.
Seen it.
It is so funny. There's also, I really love Illuminata, which is, oh gosh, who did that one?
I'm afraid I haven't heard that one, so I might not be able to help you.
Oh, it's so good. It's got Susan Sarandon,
Oh, that changes.
Yeah,
everything.
it's got some big names in it. It was an independent film about a theater company. It is both dramatic and hilarious. And there is a line at the very beginning that and everybody does this. He's running his lines backstage, and the line stops making sense. And the line is, "I was in Francofonte, if you must know." So, my friend Jennifer, I call her Cha-Cha because we were in Greece together. She and I always it's like, "Hey girl, I haven't talked to you in a while." She always goes, "Well, I was in Francofonte, if you must know." So it's a super quotable movie. It's really good, but it's so layered. John Turturro, that's who did it.
I've heard of that.
And his sister's in it. So it's it's a hard R. So if you're looking for something that's PG-13 or below, don't watch it. But it's a good one.
I love those R movies.
Yeah, it's a hard R.
The humor.
But oh gosh, what else? I love the predictable structure of a Disney movie. I know that it's going to end how it ends. I know that
there's going to be a happy ending.
Well, and then at the beginning, a parent's going to die.
Oh, God. Oh, yeah.
We have to have just one parent.
There always has to be something. There's always going to be death.
Yeah. Or some trauma. Mysteriously, there is no mom or something. But
there's always some trauma.
Yeah. There's always trauma. And then they overcome it. So that predictable nature is great. When I do popcorn theology at the church, I always try and find a film that's relatable. So next Thursday night, we're doing All the Empty Rooms, which is not a happy film. It is about a photographer and a reporter go and visit the rooms of children who have passed in school shootings. But it's timely. It's important. And that's just as important as the funny stuff.
Of course.
So we're going to be with Popcorn Theology. We watch it and talk about it. That's going to be a hard one, but I can't ignore that piece. Just as much as I love the joy, I love the hope, I love that thing. We have to know why we're seeking joy. It's a theater adage that if there's no excitement, there is no tragedy. If there's no tragedy, there is no reason for joy. You can't know what happiness is if you haven't been devastated. Right. There's no light without darkness. And we do Popcorn Theology. Sometimes we do funny. Sometimes Macadam Stories was weird and hilarious. And we had a great time with that. If you haven't seen that, that is truly a movie about networking because an American astronaut lands in a French apartment building. And there's just weird noises, it's just weird. And he has to learn how to live with this random stranger for a while until the U.S. comes to rescue him. But how did he even end up in France? We don't know these things. But it's a weird one. But that was a great evening of Popcorn Theology.
That's how it was several days ago. I watched a little bit of a scary dystopian movie. It honestly managed to scare me more than any horror movie ever could. And it was just over some simple presence of taking one mechanic out of the system of society and just watching it all fall apart.
Oh, wow.
But even throughout the film, the director manages to make it scary and beautiful and give a glimpse of hope at the same time. It was an old dystopian movie it's called Children of Men, about the world hasn't been able to produce a population. Basically, it's infertility, and pretty much the whole world falls into complete chaos and complete war. And it kind of makes me think, oh man, how fragile is freedom really? And anyways, like I said, he still manages to give us a glimpse of hope throughout the film, because that was actually the driving force of the film, more than any of the critiques it was trying to make about us right now. And what I loved about it was, even though it was take place in the future, nothing has changed, because it was supposed to suggest that we were falling back. But then at the end of the film, you see this possibility of humanity reemerging, that there's always hope, even when you've survived the worst, and when you've survived the biggest chaos over the course of the 20 years of that film. And that was the other thing too. You had got me thinking You were talking about those Disney movies with simple formulas. I had several like that too, where, like, for example, I really loved that movie Up.
Oh yeah. It's sweet, it's silly, it's hopeful, and we can expand it to it's intergenerational.
It makes the manliest man just...
Well, I mean, we're looking at the beginnings and ends of life in that film. And that is really, really wonderful. But then we have, like, the silly moments with Kevin and Doug. And it's just, that is what Disney does well. And, like, say what you will about the corporation and about all that stuff. That's not what we're here to talk about. The vision.
I'm here for the story.
The story, the vision of hope, and it really only comes from each other. And
this kid gave him a sense of living again. That house was literally the symbolism of him carrying his grief around Mr. Fredrickson.
Yeah. And I know Roanoke College is ELCA in denomination, and that's one thing that I love about, and this is pulling in my doctorate in divinity, but the acknowledgement that we can give each other that experience, no matter what religion we are, no matter what God we recognize or don't, that hope really comes from fellow humans and then contributes to our vision of what's beyond us. But whether you're, and I've talked about Unitarian Universalism, ELCA, that's me and my sister, she's ELCA, but that is what we're here for, and that boils down to those networks, to those collaborations, to those numinous experiences together that we can create and that we can also enjoy. So it's hope. It's Up, but it's also Children of Men. It's Illuminata. It's all these things that we wrap up together that help us create this world that we want to live in. And it does, whether you feel, believe in, acknowledge this, superior power, it doesn't matter, because ultimately it is how we interact with each other. And that is something that I do, like, that's one of the reasons why I love Roanoke College, is the association with ELCA, because no one reaches out to the community more than my ELCA Lutherans. Love it. And that's the whole point, is community, creating that joy, creating that space, creating that experience with and for each other, so that we can provide for each other with our expertise, whether it's making a biscuit or building a house.
Nice. And that was the other thing too, I forgot to mention this before our time. The other Disney movie I really liked, really related to, you've probably heard of this one, and this kind of changes the way I think about my emotions, was Inside Out. And it was the homesickness. It was the homesickness aspect, and then the second bit, it was the anxiety aspect that really, really clung on to me. I never felt I could relate to a film more, and like for her to have the ability to, like I said, we live in the society where basically we're expected to just be quiet and work and hide our feelings, and for her to be able to have, Riley to be able to have the ability to open up to her parents like that so openly without the judgment, it's just, it feels like a fantasy to some people.
Well, and I use Inside Out and Inside Out 2 to talk about emotions with kids, and I even have like little Disney doorables of the characters, so that we can use them to talk, take it outside of ourselves, and honestly, it all boils down to collaboration. They're trusting me to collaborate with their emotions. So Inside Out's amazing. I love it.
And I also love the brilliance of, like, even like in her head, all the emotions are unregulated, and then the adults, as they mature, everybody has their own spot, and it all means something.
Well, and who is driving that primarily? Oh, I could talk forever about Inside Out. It's so good.
Same. I wish we could. Unfortunately, though, this is going to be time. I do appreciate you for coming on.
Oh, thank you so much. This has been a great time.
Hopefully, maybe we can try something like this again. I would love to go further and further. But anyways, You guys are listening to WRKE 100.3 LPFM, Salem, streaming live offline at WRKE.org, and on the TuneIn app, just search for WRKE.